Hi guys, how are we doing? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. How are you all doing today? I hope everyone's having a fantastic day today. News weather report, it is raining. Okay, so did anyone watch the Netflix documentary called Unknown Caller?
I'm literally so embarrassing. It's called Unknown Number, not Unknown Caller. I did watch it. I did. I've got a lot of notes, I promise. But yeah, it's that's not the name.
I did, and I was completely blown away by the whole ensemble. Absolutely, and still is absolutely repulsive and atrocious. Spoiler, please do not watch this unless you have actually seen it. This is your 5-second warning. Okay, so yeah, I already knew about the twist because of TikTok, because of the ungodly amount of time I spend on there. So I already knew about the twist. So I was already expecting it. But if I had not known about that twist, ain't no way I would have known. But I have managed to find girls. People have started coming out. We've got Chloe. If you remember, you have Chloe's parents at the end who were still very suspicious and not happy with what the detective found. Anyway, Chloe, who was kind of painted as the mean girl, but yeah, she made a TikTok.
Hi guys, I'm Chloe. I'm one of the kids who got framed in The Unknown Number on Netflix that just came out today.
We also have one of Lauren's friends as well who's come out to vouch for her.
I think it's pretty disgusting that there are adults in the documentary and kids and people online that think that Lauren knew about who was sending these messages.
It's just been a few little pieces that have been tied together that I wanted to get onto, so we're going to discuss that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do the quickest recap. When I say quick, this is literally for people who do not care if they do not watch this. Then I want to get on to the people that have come out and made TikToks following this documentary. And then I just want to address a few things that I feel are not really being spoken about enough. Most of this is just going to be straight off the top of the dome, just completely my own thoughts, because you know when you watch something and you just want to talk about it? That's kind of what this video is. So yeah, grab your coffee, grab a snack, grab a cup of tea, grab a glass of wine. I don't know what time it is where you are. I've got my sushi mug here today. All of this is set in a very, 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 very small town in Michigan. Okay, and the school is absolutely tiny. Everyone knows everyone. It's quite cliquey. But like I say, everyone knows everyone. There's like, I forgot what they said. I'm pretty sure they said like 300 pupils or something in this school. So it is tiny. The main people is Lauren and also Owen. They are together. They got together in like year 7, year 8. Now, what ended up happening when they got together is they both started receiving text messages from an unknown caller. Yeah, they start receiving text messages, and these text messages were basically hinting at the fact that whoever was sending these texts clearly wanted to be with Owen. Lauren would receive text messages saying that, you know, he doesn't want her, and that basically they should break up. Now, eventually, the text messages started getting really like sexual in nature, and they were saying all of this kind of stuff like, you know, me as in the caller, me and Owen are gonna have sex, but obviously phrasing it in a more vulgar way, and saying all this kind of like vulgar language. Actually, for like a 14, 15-year-old as well, it was just very graphic. And Lauren would be sent these text messages, and so would Owen. Owen at one point said he would receive like 40 to 50 text messages in a day. Something to remember as well is that Owen, I believe he was on the basketball team, and I think Lauren was also she was on the girls basketball team, if I've got that one correct. And Kendra, who is Lauren's mum, coached the girls basketball team. You know, parents were very much involved, but it's obviously like it's a small school as well. Parents involved with what was going on. Now, these text messages went on for a whole entire year. Right, whole entire year of these text messages. So their idea was that maybe we should just give this person what they want. Like, we should just break up and give them what they want, thinking that the text messages would then stop. They then split up, but unfortunately the text messages do not stop. They actually get worse and worse and worse. These text messages were literally calling her, like saying that like no one wants your like anorexic ass and all this kind of thing, calling her like a slut, calling her all of these horrible, horrible things, till it got to a point where the unknown number literally started telling her that she should like off herself, basically. Like, nobody would miss you, you should yourself, kind of thing. Like, horrible. Yeah. Owen and Lauren decided to get their parents involved and go to the principal. Now, the principal, the only thing he could really do was look at security cameras, and there's no saying, like, what people were actually doing on their phones, and he didn't want to take away people's phones entirely. So what ended up happening is that he ended up outsourcing it to a police officer who was doing some investigation. And the one person they landed on was a girl named Chloe. Now, Chloe, who she actually made a TikTok just the other day, she came on and there was just this kind of air of that she was like in the popular group. There was this air of her being a little bit of a mean girl. But she was also really, really close with Owen, but her dad was also a cop. Her parents were like not actually believing Chloe. Well, pretty much stuck between a rock and a hard place, because in the documentary it shows that, you know, they basically took away her phone. They ended up like just interrogating her all the time, to the point where Chloe ended up getting her phone dumped, you know, where everything's taken off of it. Had a look through all of her stuff and concluded that she was nothing to do with this.
And this is also like during basketball season. So we had a game that was like 45 minutes away for basketball one night. And like I would come home from school crying to my mom and dad like every day. Obviously you guys saw my dad was a cop, so he would sit there and just press me for hours and hours when I got home. He'd take my phone at night, all of the above. But at the basketball game, after the game ended, my mom and dad came up to me and they took my phone. And so I was like, okay, like, why is my phone getting taken? I literally did nothing, but I had a feeling, obviously I knew, like, for some reason it had to do with the situation, I'm sure. So after the 45-minute long bus ride back to school, I get home eventually, and like, they sit me in the living room, my parents do, and they're like, we got a call from Mike Main on the way to your game. And he said, like, we know it's Chloe, like, this just needs to stop, blah, 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 whatever. So the whole time between that, I just felt like no one believed me. Honestly, at that point, my own parents were still kind of like, okay, like, what did the sheriff find that, like, somehow, you know, proves me guilty for this?
There was also a point where I think her name was Amelia or something a bit like that, who's Owen's cousin, was then put in the firing line. At this point, like, Lauren can't trust anyone. Owen doesn't trust anyone. Lauren's being told, you know, like, off yourself, otherwise we're going to off yourself. Like, it was getting scary. And whoever it was very much within a part of the social group, because Chloe, who the girl I just spoken about, who was suspect number one, she actually ended up going somewhere, and the person knew that she'd gone there. Anyway, to cut an absolutely long story short, I know I've missed out quite a few bits. I get that, but I'm not going to be sitting here dissecting every single part of it. But to cut a long story short, a detective got involved. They had to literally like outsource it from the police department to like a cybercrime detective. Managed to issue a search warrant for a couple of these like unknown number website things in order to get the IP address. Anyway, shocking turn of events. Turned it around, found that number was coming from inside the house. It was Kendra's. It was Lauren's mum, Kendra. That's who the number was. So this whole entire time, it was her own mum who was doing this, who was sending the vulgar texts about Owen, who at the time must have been about 15, who was calling her daughter like the most horrible things, telling her daughter that she needs to off herself, and basically ruining her life for nearly 2 years. It was her own mum.
My number?
Yep. Does it have to do with Owen? Is there an infatuation there with Owen?
No, nothing like that.
Okay, then just tell me what did he treat Lauren bad? I mean, something serious. It went on for a while, right?
Yeah, and it didn't start that way.
I'm sure it didn't.
I don't even know.
That's okay. Just start from the beginning. So they were dating, and then they broke up. So how did it really start? Like, why did it start? Did it start during when they were still dating?
It did.
Was he treating you bad?
But it didn't. The first ones didn't start like with me.
Okay.
I will say that those ones were like random or whatever.
So somebody else started those. You don't know.
But then I like fed off of it.
That was the plot twist. When this was found out and the game was up, right? The game was up. Kendra, bear this in mind, Kendra, the mum, had been a part of this documentary the whole entire time. So as you're watching her explain what was happening to her daughter, and it was horrible, and oh, we just need to get them, you don't think it's her, because right at the very end, you know it's now her. And I just can't. I honestly, I mean, I knew before I went into watching it. However, it still shocked me. The reaction that we got. Kendra turns to the camera and she goes, well, we all make mistakes. She started comparing it to drink driving at one point. She said, well, we've all, broken the law at one point, haven't we? Some people drink drive. And it's like, no.
One of us has lived a perfect life. And realistically, a lot of us have probably broke the law at some point or another and not got caught. I mean, I'll be honest, I'm sure people drove drunk, haven't been caught, right? But again, if you get caught, you're in the same situation and I'm in, but for a different thing. So
are you fucking kidding me
that,
right now?
People lose sight of that. I know to some, I'm a headline, I'm a villain, I'm a bad mom, I'm a whatever. But that's because they know one little piece of my story. They don't know my whole story.
Absolutely not. Dad, Kendra's husband, I was extremely impressed with him. The minute he found out that not only his wife wasn't actually let go of her job, she was actually terminated from her job. So she's basically been like jobless for the past, I don't know, however long, which would explain why she's had so much time to send like 100 messages every single day harassing her daughter and her daughter's boyfriend. That would make a bit of sense. B, then finding out that this whole turmoil that has happened, bear this in mind, the family has been in like financial ruin because Kendra's, got laid off, even though she wasn't laid off. She actually got fired, didn't tell. So they've had to like move, finding out that it's actually the cause of all of this devastation towards his daughter is actually his wife. He literally says, get out. I want you to call your mum, get out of my house. Apparently they have actually divorced. But basically she ended up going to prison. I think it was 15 months, something along those lines. She's out now. During that time period, we do see from Lauren that, she was in communication with her mum. When I saw the text messages, because they show them, the legit text messages, her mum just does sound like still very much deranged, but she does say that she's not allowed to see her mum now that her mum is actually out of prison.
I just kept going. It was a spiral. I don't think I knew how to stop. I was somebody different in those moments. I was in an awful place mentally. It was like I had a mask on or something. I didn't even know who I was.
It just kind of changed. She was more introverted, didn't reach out as much. I guess more self-absorbed too.
Sometimes it was an hour a day or 8 hours a day. Let it consume me.
Now, one of the things I did want to talk about, who is actually Chloe, who made a TikTok very, very, very recently. There's in a few days ago. There's definitely something I need to talk about here. So Chloe's mum and dad. So when all of this was found out, because bear this in mind, Chloe was the number one suspect number one, because as even she, in self-admittance, says, maybe I wasn't always the nicest person. She basically admits it in a TikTok that maybe she was a bit of a mean girl.
Also, in the movie, it looked like I was a really mean girl. And yeah, maybe I wasn't the nicest all the time. But I was also going through a lot of shit at the time, obviously, getting blamed 24/7. So I couldn't really trust anyone.
Interrogated by her mum and dad, who didn't believe her at first. After the revelation, Chloe's parents are still trying to spin the narrative that actually Lauren did know about this, and that actually they were in it together, and that Lauren was doing it to like get some attention or something along those lines.
In and out of the sheriff's office, dumping my phone, getting screamed at by my parents, having my friends ask me like a couple times every couple weeks, whatever, like, is this you? Are you doing this? And it just like did not feel very great. But anyways, Kendra confessed. I think that's a little bit sketchy. I spoke in court. I don't really have that much time left in this video, so I'm kind of summing up quick. If you want part 2, I'll give you part 2. But here is what I said in court when I went.
And you can see that in the documentary at the end.
But a very good part of me believes that this is probably Kendra doing this. You know, I said, I don't know what you know of her, Mike, but she's not a truthful person.
I told someone else that Sean and Lauren are going to play this off like they were the victim of this shit. They had no clue what was going on, and they're gonna get away with it because Mike Maine didn't do his fucking job and investigate them.
I firmly, that there was no fibre of my being that believes that Lauren had anything to do with this whatsoever. But there have been a lot of comments that I have seen online also believing that Lauren had something to do with it purely because of the way that she still kind of wants a relationship with her mum, and also on the basis that, you know, her reaction wasn't what you would expect. I'm not a psychologist, I'm not anything, but when you have children that have been a victim of abuse at the hands of their parents, it is so unbelievably confusing and complicated. Hell, we even saw it recently, and I'm not saying they're the same thing, but I'm saying that when a child has been abused, you have people like Ruby Frankie, Chad Frankie, who is open in the future to having a relationship with his mum, you know, saying that I'll always love my mum, but what she did was not, you know, was not good to my siblings or to me. It's going to take a series of years, because there's no doubt in my mind that Kendra was likely very psychotic throughout most of, you know, Lauren's life. I'm just guessing. Kendra blames it on a series of different things that don't really make a hell of a lot of sense. There's been a lot going around. Was Kendra just jealous of her? We have some detectives, police officers that are comparing it to Munchausen by proxy. I believe there's a slightly different name for it now, but basically Munchausen's, saying that even though, which I did think actually is a really, really, really interesting point, because even though Kendra wasn't making her sick, because you can have different variations of it, wasn't purposely drugging her or making her sick or whatever to have her close, she was inflicting emotional disturbance, you know, in order to get Lauren to come to her, to need her mum, to rely on her, to then make Kendra feel like she is saving her, even though she's the one that's doing it. I did find that really interesting, because I'm like, shit, that is kind of what this is, no? Chloe is basically just reiterating kind of what we already know. She's also saying that at one point Owen, before she dumped her phone, Owen would like come up to her and ask to go through her phone, and like Chloe at one point just said, here, have my phone because this is ridiculous. Once again, they were good friends, or they have been good friends. They knew each other from a long time.
So it basically just got to a point where I told Owen, like, just take my phone for the day, like, have it, see if you get texts. Obviously I knew he would get texts because it wasn't me, so I was like, okay, just take my phone. I honestly don't care anymore, like whatever it takes to make you and everyone else think it's not me, I don't care.
She was just downright harsing the ones that were saying, you know, I believe that Lauren had something to do with this and all of that, which obviously isn't great.
I also found a comment as well where someone is just outright asking her, do you think Lauren had anything to do with it? And Chloe is basically saying, like, I'm not going to say yes or no, but that she just wants Lauren to get some help. Now, personally speaking, I think that she has gotten this idea from her family, who in the documentary were hell-bent on believing that, like, Lauren did have something to do with it. And that's where the ideas come from. That's what I think. I think that by saying, I'm not going to say yes or no, I think that's a yes. If people are usually really sold in their mind, if it's a direct no, then they just come out and say it. But if they don't want to admit that they think that it is Lauren, they're going to say, I don't want to say yes or no. That's just what I think.
She's very much on her parents' side with that. Like I've already mentioned, Lauren has a best friend who does come on, and she makes a TikTok, and she's basically just like saying to people like, you know, can we not blame Lauren for any of this? Like she didn't know about any of this. Like people are going off the rails. It was kind of in a direct response to Chloe's TikTok.
Just kind of wanted to say some things after I saw the documentary, and then also after I saw what people said in the documentary and then what people have said online. I texted Lauren to see if it was okay, and she said it was. So Lauren, this is for you, and I love you so much. I want to talk a little bit about Lauren and my sister's grade. In general, the girls, specifically the girls in that class, were just like not very nice and inviting to other girls. Pretty cliquey and just not nice, more about drama. And I know like my sister like didn't have any friends that were girls in that grade other than Lauren that I can even recall. And my sister's really friendly and not even like that shy. So I know that both of them just really didn't want to surround themselves with those individuals, which is okay. I personally have witnessed that grade be rude to each other. Through middle school I saw that happen. Through high school I witnessed it happen. To Lauren, I've seen girls not be nice to her. I've witnessed girls not be nice to my sister from that class. So when it talked about in the documentary, Lauren not wanting to talk to these different people and not being as outgoing is because the girls were not welcoming to other girls. Also, those individuals in the documentary as well as in the comments that want to say that Lauren was in on this whole text messaging scandal, it's just crazy because Lauren didn't want attention. She didn't need attention from anyone in her class or anyone from the school. She was friends with people that she wanted to be friends with, and she wasn't with people she didn't want to. Like, she did not have any trouble making friends. She just didn't want to be friends with certain people. Lauren was literally the sweetest girl I've ever met. She is so kind, and I have never witnessed her be mean or rude to anyone in my life. And the idea that people think that she would be in on this to try to set up other people is pretty disgusting.
Which I think is really nice because, you know, Lauren's got friends who are standing up for her. And like I say, I personally don't believe that she had anything to do with this. Why the hell would you do that to yourself, to your relationship, to like people? No. Kendra might do it. Her daughter, I don't think so.
People also want to make comments about how Lauren didn't give any reaction or even gave her mom a hug. First, I want to say that I don't think that the police officer was that clear when he was talking. I think it was pretty confusing when he was trying to say that her mom was involved in this. First off, it was confusing. Second of all, she was in shock. Like, what would you do if you've just found out that your mom had been tormenting you for 1.5 years? Like, it would be shocking, and you wouldn't know what to do. Try to be respectful to this whole situation and be kind to Lauren and her family. Even though there's been so much hurt and trauma, even with her mom, it's still a sensitive thing for her to look and see people be mean about it.
Now, there are a few things that I did want to touch on that I have literally just bullet pointed up here that I did want to talk about. When Kendra is sending her daughter messages saying, you know, you should hurt yourself, you should off yourself, no one would care if you died kind of situation. When the producers, the interviewers were asking Kendra, you know, why did you say that? Were you not worried that she actually would? Kendra's response was, I know her really, really well. There is no way my daughter would do that. Also says as well that she didn't feel like she was talking to her daughter. She felt like she was actually talking to herself. She was saying all these horrible things as a way of just getting stuff out when actually she was directly talking to herself, not her daughter. I don't know what mental gymnastics we're talking about here. My personal belief is that she was jealous of her daughter. She was jealous of the relationship that her daughter had with her boyfriend, which, by the way, Owen's mum makes an amazing point. Why the hell has no one charged her for anything to do with, like, I don't even know what the label would be, sexual communications with a minor, or I don't know what the actual title would be. But what I'm saying is that she would send Owen really vulgar stuff about what they would do, and then would also send her daughter really vulgar stuff about what her and Owen are doing or have done or want to do. So I'm just saying, if this was reversed and it was a man, I hate to play this card, but if it was a man who was uncovered for doing all of this and had sent those text messages, I feel there would have been a much different reception. Owen's mum very much highlighted a very good point, that she does believe that Kendra was infatuated with her son, and then gives off examples that we don't explore that much throughout the whole thing, but right at the very end of the documentary, she says, yeah, well, even after they split up, she used to always turn up for his games. She used to just be around him a lot, and giving other examples of just her having this like overly close relationship almost with Owen, and was alluding to it being extremely inappropriate. Also coupled with the text, which was just downright, she should have got charged for something to do with that. Also, some people find it annoying that there's so much of an emphasis towards the end of the husband finding out that, Kendra had actually been fired instead of let go kind of situation. Did she ever really have a job? There's so much emphasis on it, because I feel like if she did have her job, she wouldn't the text wouldn't have been as extreme, number one, because, she wouldn't have the time to do this. Or maybe part of the reason why she got fired is because she spent all day doing these texts. I don't know. I'm not quite sure where the timeline was. Also, another part as well is that Owen is interviewed pretty much all the way through this, but right at the very end, the producers ask, have you spoken to her? And Owen almost gives off the same reception that Chloe's family do, in the sense that looking at Lauren as if she is to blame. She was kind of saying like, no, I haven't spoken to her, I don't think I ever will ever again kind of situation. Maybe it's a maturity thing, maybe it's just not being able to separate Lauren from her mum, or it could genuinely be him actually believing the same narrative that Chloe's parents do, and that Lauren actually had something to do with it as well. That's what I think. But I was actually really quite shocked, because at some points he spoke really highly of her, and then at the end it was like, no, I want absolutely nothing to do with her. But yeah, I did find it really interesting that, Lauren's friend does come to TikTok and basically state, Chloe wasn't the nicest person. That whole group of friends isn't very nice. So that's the reason why they were obviously like key suspects. It wasn't just like completely out of the blue. I just think that is just way too much, especially for someone who is in like year 7, year 8, orchestrating this whole entire great big thing. A part of me thinks that the reasoning why there is that narrative going on is because Chloe's parents feel bad about, and this is my opinion, bear this in mind. The reason why that narrative's going on is because Chloe's parents feel bad about themselves for not believing Chloe and for interrogating her and, causing emotional distress like they did, that they are not happy with the outcome. Never be fully satisfied with the result because maybe they feel bad of the way that they acted towards their child in that moment. I don't know.
But at the same time, like, I was almost in tears because I was just so frustrated that no one believed me, and now I was getting accused by a police officer that I was doing this.
But yeah, I've literally rambled on and on and on and on and on. But that was my overall thoughts on The Unknown Number. That is it. When you've talked for so long that your back of your throat actually really starts to hurt. That's what I feel like right now. But if you haven't seen it, definitely go watch it. I know I've spoiled a load of stuff, but to be honest, it was kind of spoiled before I fully watched it, and I still got more information out of it. This was a very, this was not a deep dive per se, but thank you so much for watching. I hope everyone has a wonderful day wherever they are in this world. Take care of each other, take care of yourselves, and I will catch up with you guys in the next video.